All right. Hey, Chris, how are you? Yeah.
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So, ooh, we have Glenn on here. Hey, Glenn. Hey, guys, if you're just jumping in, smash that heart button, hashtag live. We want the rest of the group to know that this is going on. Today, we're going to be discussing how Chris did 40K so far in his launch in his Facebook group within a month and a half of coming into Ignite, but also to talk about how, just this is possible. You can go and use a Facebook group as a container and earn an extra 5 to 6 figures per month. I know a lot of people think that that sounds kind of bizarre when they're not familiar with this world, but it's possible. And we're gonna get into Chris's story as well, because seemingly when I first met him, he has, I used to do this business and that business, and after a while I'm like, how many lives have you lived? I'm like, what the heck?
Too many.
With his Facebook group. Okay, I'm gonna save that as the banner. I'm gonna say that. Okay, so Chris, let's take a step back and talk about your story. I really want, and guys, if you have questions, hey Glenn, if you have questions about group growth, this Facebook group is all about group growth. So if you have questions about group growth or how to monetize from Facebook groups, or just ask us whatever questions you have. This interview is for me to also get to know Chris like better. He jumped into my program and he just like went balls to the walls, just like just full on all out, which is the type of client that, you are the client you attract. So he's going to be attracting those type of clients for himself.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Chris. So for those of my audience who don't know who you are, give us your background. Let us know your origin story. I know you sold a gym right before the pandemic. So I think that's most of what I know about your world.
I'll give you the 1 minute version. How about?
Okay.
So my name's Chris Blakeman, and I'm originally a retailer. This is what the business I had before. And so I have a background in business. I went to Colorado State University and studied business administration and had a minor in economics with certificates in human resources and entrepreneurship as well. And I got out.
The way that you said it was like it was so fast.
So,
okay, go ahead.
When I got done with school, I got into the real world and started a real business and opened a store in Cheyenne, Wyoming, selling vacuum cleaners and sewing machines. So if I could go back in time and talk to Chris when he was 25 years old and say, hey, that's going to be really hard. Like, that's going to be really hard. I wish I had a time machine, but I learned a lot. So it was really good. And so then after a year of that, I bootstrapped that business into a 6-figure store, and then went and bought a store in Casper, Wyoming. A guy was retiring there, and I was able to help him retire and buy his business and turn that into a 7-figure business. And then I bought a business in Boulder, Colorado, another vacuum and sewing machine store, and then opened a store in Loveland, Colorado. So I opened a chain of retail stores selling sewing machines and vacuum cleaners. And then last year, I sold that chain of stores so that I could pursue being a consultant and a digital fitness trainer, and learned about that, and then learned about you because I was scraping emails. Is how I found out about your software tool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then so you got into it sounds like you're just super crazy action taker, Chris. So you got into the gym. You want to become a fitness consultant, and didn't you get a gym too? Didn't you like buy it? Oh, or you got into? No, you didn't. Oh man, did I get that completely wrong?
That's all right. I was a digital fitness trainer.
Okay, so
I'm not anymore though. That's all gone now. Now we're doing serious stuff.
Oh man. Okay, so when you first met me and you came into, so you have GroupConvert, you just installed it, and then I jumped into the tail end of a support call, which, by the way, that's not common for me to do. And I'm thinking, I should do that. I should have my team do that more often, because I just jump on in because I was bored one day. And I'm like, well, let's see what's going on over here, because I really like to be in the pulse of my customers. I really like to know like what's going on. So I jumped in randomly. And then I saw that your group was pretty sizable, and it was embroidery, a bunch of embroidery. And that made me go, what is going on here?
It's a weird niche, dude.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, like,
I can lie.
I see you as like a fitness guy. So and you're all, come on, grandmas. Come into my world.
all the grandmas, Kim.
Oh my God.
We're gonna help them. We're gonna help all the grandmas.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's true.
But I mean, from a business perspective, though, like on that call, it was pretty pragmatic, because it was like, I have a group with 5,000 people in it, and they're all small business people. Like, they all have a custom business. They do embroidery as a custom business, which is like a custom service business is a very high profit margin business. A lot of them have good opportunity and don't realize it. And you came on the call and you were like, we help people with like 200 people monetize their group. And I was like, oh, really? Well, how much does this cost? And you told me the price of your program. And I was like, well, okay. I mean, why? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Why would I not? If people are monetizing at 300 members in their group, like this, to me, it was very pragmatic, because your software worked. Like, if your software didn't work, and then you're telling me that you want, 5 figures for a 12-month program, then I'd be like, no, I don't really know. And you just jumped on this call randomly. I'd be like, I'm being taken for a ride.
So the only thing was that my software worked. That was like the biggest thing.
Yeah, that was probably, I mean, in that moment, I mean, obviously, like, you're a very trustworthy person, and to me, I can just tell. I've dealt with a lot of people, and I can just tell right away you're very genuine, and like, you're very like, I can just tell you're a very genuine person, for sure. But the fact that like your business is a real business and it works was like, okay, this is, to me, I was like, this makes sense. And so then it becomes just a numbers game. Then it's just like, okay, well, Kim says it monetizes at this, I have this much. So if you scale that up, it's probably going to be exponential return on investment.
Yeah. I want to ask you though, usually whenever someone's on the call, they're like, oh, can I really do that? Can I really do that? What made it so easy for you to believe that you can monetize 5 to 6 figures per month on like a teeny group of a few hundred people? What made you go, okay, well, I have a bigger group, so cool.
Yeah.
What made you believe it so easily is my question.
No, it's a good question, because you told me it was high ticket. Once you told me it was a high ticket model, then I knew that's like, I was in like right away, because I've experienced that. And like my experience with high ticket sales in like groups of people is that it doesn't take very much. Like it takes like a handful of people and you do really well. So
yeah. And what have you tried before that gave you that kind of like confidence and knowledge that you're like, what experience with high ticket people? What do you do?
Oh, selling sewing machines. Oh. I used to sell like $20,000 packages to groups of grandmas, basically, that were like really creative. Like robotic quilting machines and like embroidery machines, sewing machines, and we'd put together packages and we'd throw a party. We'd have a sewing class. We get them all together and you throw a party and you make it a good time. You do giveaways. It's just, and you have fun with everybody. And then like everybody's pumped and you have like a teacher or like an expert come in to teach to them. And then you come out with your package and you're like, all right, everybody, guess what? You get all this gear. You get a really good deal. And if you need to, I'll finance it for you too. 0% interest. How does that sound? Right. And they can do it, and we would sell a lot of equipment. We would sell a lot of equipment that way.
Oh my gosh. And so how many past lives do you have? You sell sewing machines. How long did you do that? How come I'm hearing about all these other, like, oh yeah, I used to do this, Kim. I'm like, what?
I sold vacuum cleaners too.
Okay.
It's an industry. It's like if you go into a sewing machine store, it's not uncommon for them to sell vacuum cleaners too.
Okay, I guess. So you used to sell at live events. Basically, you host a party and it's a live event and you're pitching at a live event. And the live event would have how many people? You're throwing parties for grandmas?
Yeah, so it would be like, it'd be anywhere from like maybe just 5 or 6 people all the way up to like 70.
Oh, 70 people. That's huge. I think
Yeah.
it's a lot of people.
But you can do a lot of powerful things with people in person.
It's true. I started doing live events before the pandemic hit. And now some of my friends are still doing live events right now.
Yeah.
Which, you know, they keep it like around 30, but they still do really well. They'll still pitch for like a group of 30 people and for like a 25K mastermind. And they'll 400K over a weekend.
Yeah, and they get a slide deck and you roll through it and like everybody eats like a really nice lunch and it's legit. Like everybody should go to like a legacy education event or like one of those real estate things or whatever where they're selling like a $70,000 package. Everybody that's in high ticket sales needs to go to that and experience it. Don't buy anything, right? Unless you're going to get into real estate, but like just go do it and your mind's blown. Like they're like pros. Like they've got it down. They plan out every little minute of it. Like they're like, they come out and they'll like say stuff to you, like in the aisle, like while the presentation's going on, they got like a little helper that comes by like, hey, how's it going? Like, did you get your packet or whatever? Did you sign this thing right here? Where you at? Where you at on a scale of 1 to 10? How's it going? You know, and you're like, whoa, like they're really serious.
Actually, my coach, I actually paid 30K for one of my coaches, and he helps you with live events. So I was like, let's go. Like, pandemic. I'm like, darn it.
That's sick.
But yeah, I love that world and that environment. And oh yeah, we have questions. So Angel Luis Torres says, how large is his group? So to monetize, do you need a really, really big group? And how many people do you think should be in your group so that maybe you can monetize it? And also you have a very big group, a very sizable group.
I've been able to grow it since I got in your program too. Like we've grown it to 6,100 now. Or we've added like 11 because I went to that master class you had and I did some things. What was his name?
Glenn,
yeah, I went to Glenn's class and I implemented some of that stuff.
Oh wow. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And my master classes are included as part of my Ignite program. I call it hunting unicorns. I mean, Glenn is here today. I think he commented earlier. Yay, Glenn, you taught Chris how to his Facebook group site. But the actual pitching, like how big was your group when you were pitching it? Like how many? Because you did
like 5,000. I didn't have like super awesome engagement, and they're like a shiny object group. Like honestly, like I have a lot of work to do around engagement. Like I need to like harness them a lot more. But I've also done like a lot of live feeds, and so I understand that like it's about volume. You know, like I just started kind of really producing into the group and doing like giveaways too. Like I was doing giveaways to try to get their attention and just say, hey, come to this. I did the pop-up group thing like you did with Glenn. Because we got on a call and my accountability coach was like, we were like really briefly discussed it. Like she was like, well, what do you think you can do for your launch? And I was like, I don't really know. It seems like the pop-up group thing is a good idea, but like I've never done a launch before. So like she was like, well, you could if you wanted to. I mean, you got people probably, and just make sure you do everything that we recommend, basically.
Yeah. So your pop-up group, how big was that? How big was your pop-up group?
When I launched it, it was like 200.
Yeah. Hey, Sophia. Yay, Sophia. Sophia is in Ignite too. So Sophia's going to be launching as well. Hey, Sophia. So yeah, when he launched, it was 200. So, and he did 40K from his Facebook group of 200, but the cool thing is that you can continue adding people as you're going about, as you're making noise and you're launching in your little environment. So what I see it akin to is a live event, like, you know, a virtual live event. You still can have your assistant whisper in their ear, like, oh, how are you? What's going on? And then there's still the rush back to the room, like stand up if you're gonna commit. And then there's still like the celebration for the people who did sign up. There would be like congratulations posts to encourage others to go, oh, that person joined, well, now I can join. And what was really cool was that what I saw you did was you weren't an affiliate of AWeber, and you got a bunch of people to sign up for your email autoresponder. And when you told me that they went nuts over just you showing email autoresponder stuff, it made me think about how the thing we know is so unnatural. Like, we are so niche. You know, sometimes people would jump on a call with me and they're like, yeah, Kim, so I've been doing a marketing for blah, 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 trying to do it for the past years, and trying and not really like succeeding. But little did, you know, in my mind, I'm like, oh, cool. But little did I know, they know way more than a lot of people. Like,
oh, it's crazy.
Population.
Oh, it's so crazy. Like, just small business people. Like, if you just go and talk to the gym that I go to a lot, like the guy that owns the gym there is like my my fitness coach. He's like a bodybuilding coach, right? And so he trains me, and then he'll kind of ask me about what I do, and I'll just tell him a little bit or something, and he just like, his mind gets blown. You know, he's like, could we like sit down sometime? Like, could you take like an hour or something and like just talk to me and my wife about like, you know, like our email list, or like what? It just sounds so crazy, you know? And it really is like very niche.
And so it's like embroidery is very niche too. Learning embroidery, running that business is super niche. So it's like niche inside a niche. And Facebook groups is like very specific, like one thing, one area. So anyways, what I do know is when people think about, oh, I'm really trying hard to make it online and I've only earned like a couple $100 and I'm working 8 hours, like I'm always online consuming information, trying to learn as much as I can, and it's been years. It makes me really believe that what we have going on in Ignite and providing this ability for people to come on in, get the right tools, the right framework, the right support, and then they can go and they can succeed in not years, not months and months and months, not even like 3 months. I would say if you really put your head down and do it, it should take you about a month and a half to really do it. And you're a testament of another Ignite client going and doing it, but you do have to work really hard. That's something that I
think the thing that's really important with what you're talking about, though, and like the thing that's unique with your program with monetizing groups and Facebook groups being kind of like the staple, is something that you said in one of your slide decks, I think, or in one of your trainings, which is like, not like if, but like when Facebook doesn't let us do it like for free or whatever, or if like that happens, like this is such a good time right now to monetize closed Facebook groups through these strategies that like anybody that has a niche or something like this like needs to do it, because I mean, Zuckerberg controls these things. So like we need to get our lists out of this stuff, right? Like scraping these groups and like monetizing this stuff is like super crucial.
Yeah. I strongly believe that one day, yeah, like just like how Facebook ads get expensive, Google changes their algorithm for SEO people. There's going to be a shift, but while we still have it the way it is, the global economy won't last forever. things will change. We can't now we can hire people from across the world to like help us with things. And even your mind was blown when I'm like, oh yeah, my video editor charges me blah blah blah. You're like, what?
Oh, oh.
but I'm just saying it's possible now, and if you keep on waiting, just things will change and get more expensive. And especially if you're sitting on a Facebook group, it's a gold mine. You're sitting on a gold mine that's untapped. And the only place I know on Facebook, well, Facebook is the only place I know that the algorithm works with your favor. If you engage, people will see your stuff, and that's not the same anywhere else. Like just anywhere. If you try to post a comment on Kim Kardashian's Instagram, she's not going to see any of your stuff. Like, no way. But if you go and comment and kind of comment stalk someone, they're going to start seeing your things in their newsfeed, which is the huge difference, which is why organic marketing on Facebook works without paid ads. Hey guys, Sophia says, listen, just the offer framework Kim has in Ignite is worth it. Oh, thanks, Sophia. Sophia's a fan of Ignite. Okay, guys, ask me questions because ask us questions. I want to ask Chris some questions too. And I want to hear more of your story, Chris, like the story of what is it that made you so believe and just go forward with it? You know, it's not like you saw, or maybe you did. Did you see like a lot of examples of Facebook groups monetizing in teeny ways, or were you just like stumbling into it? Why did you think, okay, I'm gonna get emails from my Facebook group? Like, what made that shift from what you were doing before?
It was more of like, I didn't actually know anybody that was monetizing a Facebook group. Really, I just knew that I was controlling attention. Like, I just knew that I had the ability to control attention in that group. And I think that what I'll tell you a story. So when I was selling equipment, one time I threw a seminar at a hotel where basically it's kind of the same thing, like similar, but we were teaching embroidery people how to start their own business. So we had a business in a box. It was like a build your own business kind of thing. And it was an info product that I built over a period of like a year. That was just like, here's a little planning guide, like here's like a little sales guide, like a tracker, that sort of thing. Like really similar to like what I'm selling to them in the group. Basically over a 2-day seminar, what my goal was to sell people the info product for $300 and then move them up into a $15,000 equipment package and say like, hey, now you know how to start the business, you need this piece of equipment. So it was like a natural progression to like move them up the value chain. And it was just me. I was supposed to have like 5 people helping me, like, and just anybody that knows how retail works, it's just like sometimes your employees just don't show up and things are crazy. And we had 4 locations. And so like it ended up being like me and this like expert teacher lady that was like $5,000 a day that showed up to do this class. And she recommended, she's like, we really need like probably, I can't remember. She's like 40 people a day. It was a 2-day thing. We need like 40 people a day. And I got like 19 people into that class for each day or something. So it was like half or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had a really good slide deck that I worked out, like using the perfect webinar pitch, like the Russell Brunson thing. Like I really hammered that out because I was trying to sell that thing online. And I did a couple times like on a webinar, but I was like, in person, this thing should kill. Like in person, I should be able to do like really well with this.
Yeah.
And she was like, we're not going to sell like any machines. She's like, I've seen this done. I've been doing this. She was like, Chris, I've been doing this for like 15 years. And it's like a thing, like she like goes in, the dealers bring their embroiders in. These ladies are creative and they have really a lot of fun with it. And they want to live the dream and start their business and then like buy this big package and whatever. And so that's what she does, is she does an inspirational story about how she started her business. And she goes through her slide deck and she's like, this is me when I started with this little machine. And then this is my giant machine in a warehouse with 20 employees or whatever, like over the course of the day. And then we give them a really nice lunch and we make an offer. And then we have some machines. We have like 4 machines in there that they embroider on. And the machines, like the vendor sends the machines in and they're like, you know, $8,000 a shot wholesale. So I've got like, you know, probably like $24,000 in wholesale inventory in there that like, it's mine, right? Like so it's a lot on the line basically. And I think I sold like 8 packages or something over those 2 days. So it was like, and each package was like $15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like when it really comes to like high ticket sales, that's probably the most impactful experience I've ever had. Because like I've had weekends where we did like 6 figures before, but that one was just me and that teacher over 2 days with like 30 some people. Like it was like 36 people or something, you know.
Yeah.
So like when you really look at the odds, and like if you know what you're doing, like, and you don't have to be an expert, like you don't have to be Grant Cardone, okay? Like you don't have to be like crazy sick like salesperson.
Yeah.
Like Kim gives you the slide deck. Like you give them the slide deck, you give them the word tracks, right? Like you're gonna trip over like 5 figures, no problem, with that number of people. And that experience alone was enough for me to just be like empowered, you know, and just be like, okay, like the odds are really good, you know, with high ticket models.
Yeah, because you only need, a lot of people say, I want 10K a month. You know, that's a lot of people's goals. And I'm thinking, that's only 2 people at 5K. That's only 2 people in the whole internet. It's like 2 people. So I don't know. It's still baffling. It's still mind bending, even though I teach it. Like,
what's really interesting is the idea of the arbitrage of like expertise, of like brokering basically a coach, or brokering an expert coach.
yeah.
You know, that's like, you don't even have to be the expert in this space.
That's another thing. Hey, I'm not an expert. Can I still do this? And yeah, you can actually broker, as in ask an expert to come in and help guest coach with you or teach with you. And it's only 1 or 2 hours of their time a week, which they can always carve out. They can always carve out, unless they're really busy.
Right.
You move on.
And unless they're already like a professional coach, like unless it's already part of their income, if it's not, they have an affinity to those people. And so because of that affinity, their propensity to take a lower payout is way higher, because they feel good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for them. And so they don't care about the money as much. So, like the coaches I hired were like, I got like one of the ladies that's my coach. She's like, she started the NNEP, which is like the National Network of Embroidery Professionals, like trade industry thing or whatever for embroidery people.
Yeah.
25 years ago. And she's the president and founder. And like, I signed up 1 person and it paid for her for the whole 6-month program.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like we had multiple people that were like, wow, like Jennifer's one of your coaches. Like, oh my gosh. So you'd be really surprised how you approach people in the industry that are like, seem like they're like the person or whatever. And they're just like, oh, I'd love to help other people. Like, that's great. So, I'm pumped. That's so cool. You're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. So they, like you said, they have an affinity to go and help, because maybe in their world, they're an expert, but they're not, they don't have that interaction, that human connection. Maybe they're just like making money and booking deals and doing stuff, but they don't have that connection that you're moving them into, where they're looked up at in a more intimate way in like a Zoom room.
Well, it's like how we have a connection. I'm sure you've had Facebook ads shut down. I'm sure that you've like, you know, been like trolled on in a forum or something. Like digital marketers have affinities of experience that connect them in certain ways. You know, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Sandra says, what is your website? Oh, another thing. Can you do this without having an official site, without an official thing? Like, I went to your opt-in page and it was the template I gave you. And everything was literally like what I gave you, and you just took it and you're like, I'm going to just use exactly this.
Straight up. Yeah. Straight up. Like I started my website after I signed up a bunch of people. Like my website, I went and got like a Google Suite, you know, and like set up some emails for the coaches and stuff just like last night. Yeah.
So this is after you made 40,000, right? This is after you made all that money.
After the contracts are signed.
After the contracts are signed, then you're like, oh, gotta put a website together.
like I just got Kajabi going, you know. Like,
so yeah, Angel says, hey, if your mind is bending, this is a good point. Hey, if your mind is bending, then you understand why I'm still trying to wrap my brain around this. Also, while my rollback tow truck sits outside. Oh man. So let's dispel some myths for a lot of people who are watching or they watch the replay. Can you do this without a website? Yes. Do you need to get cross all your T's, dot all your I's, put everything together before you do this? No, you do not, right? Can you do this like rushing into it with, let's say that for you kind of start a little bit later, right? Like you're like, hey, I'm finishing up another program. I'm going to start later. Do you think that someone can humanly do this given that they have like 2 to 3 weeks runtime to get people into a Facebook group and then go and launch?
The honest truth, I mean, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. But the honest truth also, I would say, depends on like their connection and engagement to the group, because like mine wasn't very high. So like I had to do a lot of live feeds. I had to hit my list. Like I had to really like ramp it up. And so like if you're already engaged with the group and you're already like speaking to them, it's just going to be better, really. Like it's just going to be a lot easier.
Yeah. And some people got here kind of a little bit later. Rebecca Happy is, she put in a deposit. So Rebecca, you're going to jump into Ignite.
Congratulations.
She just got here. So Chris is in Ignite, and the business model that we have inside Ignite is, hey, it won't take you a whole year, even though it's a year program. It won't take you a whole year. And by the way, Chris, we're making it into a 6-month program the next time we launch. So we're actually like, you got in when it was yay.
Right.
But the business model is it should pay for itself within the first month. If you lag a little bit, then a month and a half. But you are working, you're working during that time, and you're launching and you're doing your conversion event. So we found that if you're in the program for a month and you're not getting results, people tend to get disenchanted and like not happy. So that's why we structured it that way. And when you got in, and was it, so the experience that we wanted to give you was 1 call, 1 checklist, and then your launch. So we make it mentally, that's what it is. And you do need to get your checklist in place. You took my slides, you took the landing page, you took the images, and you
honestly, as things started rolling along, like I actually scrapped the bot. Like I'm gonna use ManyChat next time for sure. But like the traffic was like rolling in and things were ramping up, and I was just like, I don't have time because I don't understand it as much, like I kind of do, but like not enough to like really make it effective. And so I just scrapped it. And I was like, I'm just going to do a bunch of email blasts and like message people and get in the DM and just like try to make it happen, and it would have been a lot easier. I'm not saying to do that. That's a bad plan for sure. It would have been a lot easier if the bot was like working for me. You know what I mean? If it wasn't, I had to really get involved a lot more, which made it harder for sure. But, it's a lot, like that checklist is dense. The steps are dense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a dense checklist. Because let's say I give you like a sparse checklist and you hit like only a few of that sparse checklist, then you wouldn't be, I don't know, as effective as like a dense checklist and you cross out like 50% or something like that. Right. But what I want to ask is, so if someone's like, hey, I don't have the money, I don't have the money to invest in this program, and they are sitting on a Facebook group, like, and I know you're good with objections. I feel like you're a really good, strong salesperson.
I've done a lot of transactional sales over the years. Like I'll tell you a story. So when I was 15, my first job was selling newspaper subscriptions on outbound cold calls. and we would do like 200 calls in like 3 hours, and it was like a nightmare. It was like the worst place to learn sales, but it really taught me like a lot. Like I learned a lot for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you share with me what you tell people when they're like, I don't have the money? I really like the way you handled that objection. Like there's the moral way, and then there's the other way, which is why, you're like, why you're trying to run a 6-figure business? You're kind of sassy with it.
Well, the thing about it too is it depends on the close. Like it depends on like this when you get up to it. So you're at the close and they're like, I don't have the money for this. Or they say, well, if they say it's too expensive, that's different. That's a different thing. If they're like, this is really expensive, that means that there's something wrong with the value proposition. Like it's not, they don't understand the value. But if they're like, I don't have the money for this, then it's an actual objection. Then there's a problem because they're saying they actually can't like swipe their debit card. So then it's like, well, can you use a credit card? I would just ask right away, well, can you use a credit card? I totally understand if you don't have the money, but can you use a credit card? Because in my mind, they need it. First of all, like you have to rewind things and say, okay, is the thing you're offering and what you're selling them going to change their life? Like, do you really feel like it's like the thing for them? Absolutely. They need 100%, right? Because if they are, you've convinced yourself of that. That's just the way it's going to go. So when they're like, well, I don't have the money for that. You're like, well, great. Do you have a credit card? I mean, like right away, like, can you put it on your Amex because you'll get points? That's actually a better way to go. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Can we go ahead and do that? And if they're like, oh, because then it's like, oh, well, they're trying to stall. And they're like, well, I don't, how do I know this is going to work? And you're like, oh, well, here we go. Okay. So actually you're stalling. So like, let's go back and talk about that for a second. Right.
Yeah.
And let's talk about why you really need this, because you're running a business or you have this hobby that you're really passionate about and it's your life. Why would you not do that? Like that's why we're here on this call. That's why we're to this point, so like you need to give me your credit card at this point, like I'm sorry, but like you need to. You're doing yourself a disservice. And I'm telling you this as your friend, right? Like I'm telling you this because I want to help you. I'm not telling you this because of the sale or whatever. You cannot buy it and it'll be okay for me. Okay. But really I'm doing this for you, right? Yeah. This is for you and we need to transact. Okay. So let's roll. Like, give me the credit card information. I know you don't have it in your bank account, but like, for a program like this, it's like, it's a business decision. When it's a business decision, it's like, if you're not going to make this decision, then you're making a bad choice, like as a business person. And that's just as a business person speaking to another business person, like trying to help you out, and I closed a couple sales that way too. And I was just very pragmatic about it. It's like, look, how much, because with the embroidery people, it's like, wait, how much did you buy your equipment for? You're like, oh, it was like a $20,000 piece of equipment. I'm like, so you're not making money with this $20,000 piece of equipment. And I want to sell you a $4,000 program, which I am going to sell for $5,000 when we relaunch this thing.
Yes. Or 6. But yeah.
So when you back it up and you're like, you've made this business your life and you've invested your time in it, and you don't want to make a 5-figure investment in your life, because this is like, your business should do like 6 figures a year and 7 figures when you're really hustling for sure. For sure. Like if you actually meter out the time you spend in your week in your business and you're spending 40 to 50 hours in your business a week, you should be making 6 to 7 figures. And if you're not, it's because you don't have the right information. You don't have the right experience and information. You need to go and get it for sure. And spending 5 figures to do that is your obligation as a business person, really. At a certain point, it's like you just make that investment back into yourself,
Yeah. Yeah. Sold. I'm sold already. Here's my card.
Yeah, it's like, I'm probably going to do 0% for 6 months. And
I don't even do embroidery, but I'm just good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, let's roll,
Let's roll.
Let's do it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. So Sandra, we're on the topic of objections. People who, here's the thing, when most people get into this, which is monetizing from their Facebook group and wanting that financial freedom they deserve, they need to charge. They can't charge like $30 a month membership programs. Like, no way. It's going to take you so long. You're going to be clawing your way to that financial freedom. So off the bat, you have to provide high ticket. And is it hard to deliver? That's another thing. Like, if I'm going to do high ticket, am I going to do a bunch of one-on-ones? Is it going to be so hard? And the answer is there is work in there. That's the truth. And you can deliver in a group coaching format. So you can show up one to many and take them through this journey that you've traveled, you're successful with. So you traveled already. And another thing I want to ask you, Chris, is not another thing, but on that line of thought, I want to finish that up. I got distracted.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to monetize, if you want to get that financial abundance you deserve, it can be, number one, in the form of a Facebook group. Number two, small, doesn't have to be huge. You do have to engage with them. You do have to hustle to get people in that small group. But like Chris, he had 200 in his smaller pop-up group. You need at least 200 to 300 people to convert a percentage of them. And even if it's two, and you're helping two ladies, two people at 5K, that's your 10K month. And that's what I tell a lot of people, like, hey, it doesn't take years for you to get that financial abundance. And 10K is just the start. It's not even the ceiling. The ceiling is, well, I don't know what the ceiling is. Multiple six figures.
The beautiful thing and the big advantage we have is when you're teaching people, you're creating assets.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, you're creating these assets that you can continue to monetize over time in content, you know?
Yes. So, benefits. That would be good. The benefits are you're creating the assets. You're giving people what they need versus you're assuming what they want, and you're like spending all your time creating all these videos beforehand. You're coaching them along, and while you coach, those are your assets. Those are the things people are asking for so that you can provide them. So you're creating assets. You can deliver without killing yourself one-on-one. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't need a big audience. And learning how to sell. Oh, that's another thing. How come, being a crazy good salesperson, did you reference my framework? I went live. I did a little tiny condensed version of what I teach in terms of sales. And you referenced that, and you're like, hey, I just followed this thing.
Yeah.
Follow it. You just follow what I teach in the 10-minute live, and then you're able to convert.
Well, I mean, I kind of sold coaching services when I became a digital fitness coach. So I like kind of had some of that, but you had like a more condensed, like much more like straight line method, it seemed like, where you were just like set the gap and then, you know, ask these questions, and it makes it really clear at that point. Once you get to that point, like once it gets up to that phase, and that was like super crucial. It was like a 15-minute video.
Yeah, it was a short video. Oh, okay, cool. Like, I wanted to know also, like, what was it about that? It was the fact that it was condensed and it was simple, and when you got there. Okay, cool. So, are you looking for something?
Well, I had a notepad where I had my notes.
So Chris, let me think about, because I want to ask you things that people would object to entering. Let's say they're like, I don't know. So, you know, for me, what I hear is I don't have the money, which is like, come on. If you're looking to run a multiple six-figure business, seven-figure business, why would you object to putting down a
when you start a business unit, like I've run real businesses, like brick and mortar. I've had 40 employees. Like, I've done all that shit. And like, basically, when you go to start a business unit, if you can start a business unit for 5 figures, you're stealing it. I mean, like, you really, that's going to turn into a 6-figure business, or like you need to go borrow the money from a family member. Okay. Or you need to go to your bank and get a line of credit, or you need to go and use a credit card. Like, that's what people do when they see an opportunity, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You go and you find the money, leverage it to go and make that opportunity happen.
Yeah. So I think you reframe it really well. Like, this is a business. Oh, an objection that I do get is, I'm not trying to sell money. Can I still do this? I'm not trying to sell business information. So what I say is, well, you know, Kim Seltzer did 80,000 in her launch, helping 13 ladies learn how to flirt online.
Yeah.
Adam Gillett did 46,000 teaching men how to bold on like 128 member Facebook group. So
what is it? What do they say? Wealth, health, and love, right? It's wealth, health, and
relationship. Yes.
And relationships. Yeah. Any of those three things, then you can monetize it.
Sandra's like, I feel Chris has this friendly, happy face that gets the old ladies giddy in their soul.
Your Zoom camera on, right?
Only I was 30, 40 years younger.
Oh man, the things I've heard. Oh man, I could tell you stories. Especially when we did the seminars, like it was like a party atmosphere, so it was a good time.
Oh man, my brick and mortar business is dismantling cars. So I actually owned that business for like over 7 years now. I still have it. It's like a warehouse, real people. And I would go to these dismantling automobile dismantling conferences, which is cool men have their pick apart yards inherited, you know, given to them over generations of inheritance. And yeah, at the end they're like, let's go clubbing. And I'm like, no. I'm gonna sleep early. but yeah, like
there's a bunch of money in those car parts, man. There's a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And it's a cash business.
Yeah. It's a good brick and mortar type of business. But I mean, I would never teach someone to do dismantling just because it's difficult. It takes a lot of capital, a lot more than Facebook group. You know how to teach something.
Oh man.
Do it in a month.
Oh.
Earn that income. It's like mind blowing. Yeah, way easier. How you can profit. And the great thing that I love is that you get to show up yourself, you know, you get to show up exactly how you are in a Facebook group. It's not all strict and I'm the boss. And actually I think when I started out, I was this, you know, in my early 20s, and I was like, I'm your boss. And I got bullied, or not bullied, but I would get pushed around because I'm hiring all these old men that are all like taking apart cars.
Yeah. And, like hot rod guys, kind of.
It was not fun ride.
That's the culture. Those guys definitely, you know.
Oh, look, Rashida has a question. Rashida is in Ignite. Rashida, congratulations on your 17K month without a launch. She's like, launch. I'm about to launch. So.
Oh, man.
How did you make the launch fun and entertaining? Other engagement tips? Oh, yes. So what did you do that engaged these ladies?
So I definitely took some tips from you, and the day before like the first master class, I did a social open and had planned out periods of time for networking. So because they're all business people, so I was like, well, we'll make it a networking event, and you need to go live and post and do your pitch, like do your 30-second, like who you are, what you do, why you do it. And then everybody else needs to go and comment, support them, and like their stuff, and like, you know, and that they're creative people too. So I was like, show us what you make, show us what you embroider. And then I would just like leave my live feed running basically and play some cool music. And just like let them, you know, and you go in and see what they post and like, you know, comment on it and try to like get in the comments and get people fired up basically. And I did some giveaways too. Like I had some giveaways planned out where I was like, whoever. And then each hour I was announcing a giveaway. So it would be like, I'll announce the giveaway at the end. Everybody here needs to go and like do their live feed, you know, like everybody go and do it. And then we're going to do a giveaway basically.
And the giveaway. So you can do it. You can do multiple giveaways. We just do one scholarship, but you can definitely do a lot of. So what giveaways did you do that like had them running and really like excited to do it?
Embroidery designs.
I'm like, oh, he's gonna give me something that the audience can use. I'm like, no way.
Sorry. Sorry. But I mean, there's other stuff. I'm sure you could come up with like cool stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking of like Amazon gift cards that you're like embroidery designs.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But they
Oh.
love it. I mean, it's like, here's a giveaway Christmas collection, you know, like here's all these Christmas trees and here's the Easter collection and like Easter bunnies and
Oh my gosh. So here's something that I feel you like, okay, you know, I want to ask, do you feel like now you have the skill to do this again and again? And kind of, do you feel like you just erected a multiple six-figure business overnight? Like kind of like in a month and a half?
yeah, like just in my experience of like doing sales seminars, like doing it like virtually, I just was like so stressed. I was like, man, there's like 100 million things I'm not even doing right now that I should be doing probably. Like I should probably have like employees and stuff right now with like this many people. Like, and I don't like, you know, there should be so much more like happening with how many people are in the group and like how many were coming into the pop-up group and stuff. I was like, oh, then I know like I'm going to do it again next month for sure. You know, like I'll just call it something else besides a master class or something. I'll call it, I don't know, like a workshop or something or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it can be boot camp, workshop, just anything.
I'm gonna launch every month.
You should.
I mean, like, what do I got to lose? Like, I'm gonna just reload my chips and go again.
Yeah, and you can use the same exact thing, right? You're not. So what I do see is that a lot of people would do a launch and then go and do something else, and then they'll do something else. They'll throw something at the wall. And to me, it's like you rented the best. And this is what Russell Brunson actually said. You rented the best people to act in your Broadway show, and you rented the best. You went and bought the set. You invested in the set, you know, the setup, and then you paid for the rent of that place. And then you did the marketing, and people are there, hundreds of people coming to your show, sitting there watching you. And then they bought tickets, so they have a good time. And then the next month you obliterated everything.
You got to take it on the road.
And then did something else. Yeah, and it's like taking it on the road. And the road now doesn't have to be you traveling and flying and being in airplanes away from your kids, away from your girlfriend and your family. It's the road is now your laptop and the internet, and you can do the same show every single month over and over, because the people who don't buy into your program last show will know that you have a show coming up, will save up the money for that show and go and attend your next show, you know?
Well, in my experience is it creates hyper buyers. There will be people that see that you're doing it again and be like, oh, if it was a high quality event, like your teaching was good and like it was a fun time and stuff, they're coming again. You know, so that's why I think it's good to be like selling, even though you have like your big offer, like I had those affiliate offers or whatever. Like I think like sometimes, and some of the people that did that got that stuff bought the higher ticket offer. Like sometimes a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. You know, like they like to buy, like they want to buy more. So you want to give them more to buy because it makes them buy higher ticket even sometimes when they wouldn't before.
Yeah, you're saying that them even buying like your affiliate, your AWeber, causes them to that motion. People who go in motion stay in motion.
Yeah.
Continue buying.
Yeah. And so I'll keep it continuing to do events or virtual events creates hyper buyers. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Rashida didn't even launch. She did 17K no launch.
Wow.
Up for her launch, but Rashida actually just like started. She put together a high ticket. She started pitching it after she was in a seminar, a virtual event. Yeah. Oh yeah. Rashida started in January. She's still building the group, but I don't know. There's just so many opportunities out here, but we're talking about like
awesome.
Actually, Ignite teaches you how to go and have a high ticket program, and whether it is you're launching or not, what you're doing is you're stretching yourself so that you can change your people's lives. The only way they'll move is if they invest at a higher level than just like $100, $200. They're not going to move for that. And the biggest price objection I get is like, I can't, not the biggest, one of the price objections, I can't possibly charge these poor people, you know, X amount, you know, and
why not though? Because you can always lower a price.
yeah.
Right? I mean, you can always lower price. I know you shouldn't, but yeah. I'm just saying hypothetically, like we don't do that, but like, it's like for that objection, it's like, well, why would you worry? Because you could always lower a price. If the price is too high, are you just afraid of people saying no to you? Because that's okay too. But you can always lower a price. So what do you got to lose?
Nothing. There's nothing to lose.
No.
It's a disservice for you to charge super low too, because you're going to be struggling yourself. So how can you yourself struggling help all these other people? It's like a struggle fest altogether. Oh, man.
Oh, man. The low end, low ticket world, the struggle bus.
Hey, that's
you can write a book about that called The Struggle Bus. And it's just about people buying cheap stuff. They're just buying cheap shit and struggling along. And life is hard. And man, it's the struggle bus.
Or like the story. What story do you want to tell yourself that your life is like filled with, you can't afford all the things you want, and then that's it? Like I do have that also. They're like, yeah, my life has always been that I can't afford this and I can't afford that. And I'm like, okay, is that the story you want for the rest of your life? And they're like, no, I don't. I want to change that. That's why we're on this call. Okay,
yeah.
Let's go. Hey, RJ. RJ is a Chrome boss. He is from Pakistan. He got through my Chrome boss program, and he's making passive income monthly, and nice. Over $15,000. Rashida says, I had a client call today, and I took her $37 offer and repriced it to $1,500. She cried. Oh, yeah. Mindset is key. I agree with that.
Awesome.
All right. So my interviews usually, Chris, are an hour because I respect your time, and I know you've been just working really hard. Every time I hit you up, you're like, I'm sleep deprived, and I'm gonna get.
But I'm pumped. I am fired up.
Oh man. Yeah, I love it. I love the high after you do your first one, but then you're gonna be so excited once you do your second and third, and I don't know, you're just building this huge, I feel, this empire that you're helping all these people. And, you know, part of me feels like kind of you can just help people, period. Like, it doesn't have to be embroidery. It could be kind of like business, you know?
Yeah.
Business. So
I love it.
It's like limitless potential.
I'm so pumped. Like seriously, like I scrapped everything else, every other project. I'm going all in, you know?
So Rashida has a good question. Chris is adding people to his group through the automated post strategy. So Chris, for those people who are like, well, I don't know what strategy to add people to my group, do you literally invite them? Do you literally like go and message and ask them to come in? What techniques?
For like probably a while, like there was like a 6-month period of time where I had a virtual assistant reposting. I wrote out some copy, like I wrote out like probably 6 or 7 pieces of copy that had a link going back to my group. And I would post that into affinity groups. So it wasn't like, there really wasn't a lot of groups like mine. There really isn't. There's maybe 2 or something. But like, as far as embroidery groups though, there's like hundreds of them. There's like tons of them. So there was so many that I just created a spreadsheet and just started putting those groups into a spreadsheet. And then using that post copy, I'd have my VA go in and just post that copy on like kind of a rotating basis, not to like flag the system or anything. But, and then like if they booted me from the group, they would just like exit and be like, you got booted from that one. And I'd be like, okay, because there was so many of them that it was just like, well, whatever. And some of them had like 100,000 people in them, you know, or something. And so it's like, and so then after doing that for like a month, you could see which group was cool with it, was like okay with that, with reposting and like driving people back into the group. And then during that period of time, we were getting traffic into the group and people were like joining. And then at some point, they just kind of started joining because I stopped doing that at a certain point for some reason. And I am not doing it right now either. Like it's just kind of like people are just like joining. And then I started like an email sequence where I was running ads for a little bit because I figured out I got an ad going that was like really cheap. And there was an upsell to a digital product, like in the second part of the lead magnet. And so the ad's like really close to self-liquidating. In that email sequence, they're getting driven into the closed group. So that's like a strategy that I've been like really focused on. I kind of moved away from like the reposting thing. I should still be running it. I think it's probably a good strategy. Like you definitely don't want to like make other group moderators angry, probably. Like you probably don't want to be like that guy. But the way you write the copy, like if the copy's written a certain way, like I didn't get booted from like a ton of groups. You know, like the groups that booted me were because I had like a link in my thing.
Don't put a link in
I did. I mean, I put a link for my thing in there, which is like not cool for everybody, but the copy was written in such a way that it was still like attractive. Like it looked like I was like, hey, don't you guys like to meet new friends? And isn't it fun when you meet somebody that's creative and like they're cool too? Oh, and then they have a business doing it. Like, well, guess what? We have this community now. Then you can come and join, you know, something like that, basically, like speaking to them, basically.
Yeah. So to fill up your big group. What about your pop-up group? What do you just like talk to your big group to go in all the time?
Live feeds. Just I went live like once or twice a day at least, like and say, hey, we're doing giveaways. I would tell them the value of the giveaways too. Like we're doing these giveaways in the group. You know, you have to join the group to be qualified to win the giveaways for sure. And so like, and I didn't have like a ton of traction, so I had to do it a lot. Like if you're engaged in your group and you're telling them that there's an incentive, I'm sure it would work a lot better too. It'd probably drive even more.
Yeah, no, for sure. So if you're struggling, let's say they have no idea how to fill a group, if they're struggling to fill it, what is like the bare bones basic thing you would recommend them do? Or just not bare bones, but just what would you recommend they do to fill up their little launch group?
Definitely. Well, hopefully they've been scraping emails using your tool. Like hopefully that's been a thing so they can hit the list. Like definitely want to be hitting the list, but definitely hit the list multiple times. Like I would say build a sequence out for it, like a promotional sequence, like a campaign just for that masterclass or that event, that pop-up group. And explain in different ways. Like I would give them different reasons to go in. Is like what I did. I had a sequence that was like, we got prizes. We have a social giveaway. I brought in 3 different experts. Like there's 3 different speakers that I brought in. I had like a CPA come in and talk about taxes and PPP money, right? It's like, that's something to talk about that they're interested in. They're like, oh, well, she's telling us like how we get our PPP money forgiven. Like that's pretty important. We had a machine expert, you know. So if you get like experts like that in itself, each expert is an email that you can drop on them because not everybody's opening their email. So it like gives them you get different people opening different emails and more of a reason, and they might forget or something too. So I'd build a campaign on that and then go live like once or twice a day is what I did. And then get in the DM, like start direct messaging people like every day, basically.
Yeah, for me, it's like if you're not running ads, well, we run ads now, but before we ran ads, we just literally invite like straight up, like, hey, we have this training, come on in. Come on. And it works. Just saying, come on into my free training. It's free. A lot of people actually go, okay, I have the time. Go and join your free training.
Well, and if it's like multiple days too, it's like I was running 2 trainings a day. So it'd be like, well, they're like, oh, I don't know if I come this time or whatever. It's like, well, cool. There's one in the morning and then there's one at night. And then we're closing it down. So if you get into the group, because we added another 60 people into the group afterwards, because we're closing it and you got to pay $97 to get in after this, to this master class or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, for the replay, for the access to the replay.
Yeah, and all the PDF, because like some of the experts dropped like PDFs in there and stuff, like good resources.
So it becomes this evergreen kind of $97 asset that is a precursor or like training on not on your live time, but pre-recorded time that can run kind of in an evergreen way, so that it prepares them to book a call with you or jump into the next live training
and sign up for affiliate programs.
Yes. All right. So I want to respect your time. Okay. So I want to ask for any what would you tell someone if they're on the fence, they have a Facebook group, or they don't have a Facebook group, but they are an expert of some sort, they know how to help people? What would you tell them about joining GroupConvert Ignite and be surrounded by wonderful action takers like you and Kim and Rashida? What would you say to them?
Oh, you got to do it. You absolutely need to do it. It's your obligation and your duty.
All right, cool. And one other thing, you've been in other programs, right? You purchased and invested in other programs. What's different about Ignite that make you go, okay, I'm putting all I'm like getting rid of all the distracting little tiny side projects, and I'm like going all in on doing this model? What's so different about Ignite versus programs before?
That's a good question. It's because it's more thought out. Like it's definitely like there's definitely like a system in place. Like there's a system that's been proven. Like it's a model that other people have been through. So you guys have worked it out. Like you really worked out a lot of the, what needs to be done basically. And also like it's you. I mean, like it's obvious that you give a shit about people. Like you really do actually care. Like I've been in other programs where you don't even talk to the person that runs the mastermind. You talk to a coach for like 15 minutes and they try to get you off the call, and then you go to their Kajabi site or whatever. And like, that's not what Ignite is. Like I'm talking to you in the DM, and you're like going into my group and watching my launch and giving me feedback about it and helping me make adjustments along the way so I'm successful. That's a huge deal. And it's like I said, I could tell you're a genuine person and like your business works and you care about your clients. And like, I like the saying, it's, you want to invest in the jockey, not the horse, right? That's a Gary Vaynerchuk thing. I think you want to invest in the jockey, not the horse. Like there's so many programs out there now. There's so many vehicles and stuff, but like really at the end of the day, business is a people game, so I'd invest in you.
Oh, but it's not only me, right? I don't want them.
Oh yeah, no, your team's awesome too.
And in there,
it's a top-down thing, right? I mean, you got a good team.
Yes. Okay, cool. Oh, thank you, Chris. I'm so excited you're in my program. I just love having like perfect fit people coming in, because I know, like, I'm like, I can help you. I can do this. Let's more money in a month than most people make in a year, let's.
Yeah, and it's like, it's more than the money. I'm pumped. Like, I'm going to help these people. Like, we're going to build a business. These coaches are pumped. Like, the people that I hired are like, we got on a call today and they were just like, we're ready to go. Like, we're already in our emails. Like, we looked at all the assets. Like, this is great, Chris. This is amazing that this is happening or whatever. It's creating a whole spectrum of value, basically. It's a ripple effect, and for me and my family, it's amazing. Like now I have a focus and I know what I'm going to do, and that there's a lot to be said about that for sure.
Oh, there is about the focus. Yes. Because of clarity, mission. Now that you have a clear mission, and you gave me a testimonial. You're like, I guess I'm a coach now. You're like, I'm
yeah, it's crazy.
All right. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much for showing up today, Chris. I just love it. I love hearing your story. And I will continue to follow up with your story as it grows, as you bigger and bigger launches. This is only the beginning. And I'm excited to see the hundreds of ladies you will help.
It's going to be great.
You know what? I imagine your live event when COVID is over. It's like a bunch of grandmas just like, Chris.
Yeah, we give them all the noisemakers and stuff and the poppers and like the spinny things and man.
Crackman glow stick. Oh yeah, that's how you do a live event.
Turn on some EDM music and start the strobe lights and.
Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, thank you, Chris. All right, guys, if you have any questions, just ask me in the comments. But if you're looking to get into Ignite, make sure that you book a call with us. I'm gonna drop the link from in here, kimseedang.com/call. Book a call with us. We have 2 enrollment managers now that can take your call, as well as me. If you want to look at the landing page, it's at groupconvert.com/ignite. Very simple, very easy, and you get to see what's in the package. But definitely book a call. So
Sounds
bye,
good.
everyone. Thanks for jumping
Everybody.
and participating. Love it. Oh yeah. If you like that video, then you will love all the resources that I have over at kimcdang.com. That is KIMCDANG.com. There you will find all my courses, my extensions, all the offers that I have, as well as a lot of free resources if you are just getting started.